here on youtube.com/WrestlingUnderground. I'm your host, as always, Chet Bardo. Joining me is my glorious co-host, Marcus Green. Marcus, we are doing top 10 celebs in pro wrestling. You ready?
That's right.
Shout out to the theme song to Too Cool, because that is always the greatest way to start off anything ever. Just so good. Just so good. So let's do this. Number 10, I'm going with one that's going to baffle some people. I like him. I like him a lot. It makes no sense why I like him, but yet I do. I'm going with Freddy Prince Jr. I like him as an actor. He was in a baseball movie, and you know how I feel about baseball movies. They are phenomenal. He was also in a bunch of just teen rom-coms in the 90s. But my favorite love affair of him, it has to be the Scooby-Doo movies where he played Fred. Just knowing he captured Fred perfectly. He was a writer for the WWE for a little while, and he even popped up on screen a couple occasions. So he's definitely my first pick on this long list of top 10 celebrities in pro wrestling. Marcus, who's your first one?
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna kick it off with this woman is gorgeous personified. With an accent that you either love or hate. There really is no middle ground. But the fact that she popped up alongside Deathstroke, no less. Deathstroke at PWG. It was, I mean, it's a literal cameo. Because I don't know if it's a regular thing. But freaking Sofia Vergara popping up at PWG, it's everything I love about wrestling.
So, one, she had the best Instagram post of all time, where it's just like a bunch of dead people. I think Ethan Page is one of them, and she typed up, "I think they are dead," and she's just doing a selfie with them. And then the second greatest part about this was that she booed Ethan Page, and Ethan Page was so distraught by it because he loves Sofia Vergara. I love it. Moving on. I'm going with some sports stardoms, but you know they're not so much wrestlers as they were cameo guys. I'm going with AJ Przynski and David Eckstein of the Chicago White Sox and St. Louis Cardinals, respectively. TNA brought them in 2006. Not really the greatest angle of all time, but at that time, the Chicago White Sox hitting coach was Dale Torborg, and Marcus, if you recognize the name Dale Torborg, it's because he was the guy who played the Demon in WCW. He was a very good baseball player before he got into pro wrestling, but he took a baseball to the face. You're not supposed to do that, I hear. And it damaged his depth perception to the point where he had to retire from baseball because the ball cracked his eye socket. So he ends up going to pro wrestling, and he ends up becoming a hitting coach after WCW closed. So this feud brought back Dale Torborg into the ring. I can't have a top 10 list of celebrities without having something that involved the Demon, because I love the Demon in all of his glorified awfulness. Marcus, please, God, let your list be better than mine. What's your next one?
Glad you said that, because I knew you're going to like this one. Another guy transitioned from the NFL, came to wrestling. We see this all the time, but we don't necessarily know how it's going to go. Also, we just came off a list with several guys who transitioned from the NFL, but there's you know, a difference between guys that come in out of that league. They just come in and then they're kind of one and done, or maybe they have a couple things and then they fade, as opposed to guys who excel. Now, names like Goldberg and others have excelled over an extended period of time. This guy excelled in one night, but he did better in one night than we see most guys do in a feud or over a number of years. I'm talking about at Slammiversary 15, D'Angelo Williams.
And I think Scott D'Amore said something to the effect like he only had 3 days of training or some ludicrous stat like that.
Yeah.
And then he decided that he didn't want to do it anymore. Come on, D. What are you doing? My next one, again, my list is terrible, but it's mine, and I love it. It's going to be David Arquette.
Hell of a guy.
Hell of a guy. And I don't know if he would have made this list 3 years ago. But he took up the indie cause and started doing a bunch of indie matches so he could make like a movie out of it. and he put real effort and busted his ass to do all kinds of shit in this. And I got to tell you what, I'm so impressed by his love of pro wrestling. And even looking back at his time in WCW, while he got the flack, it was Vince Russo's fault it was so bad. But even he had so much respect for the title to the point where he didn't want to win it. He's like, man, I don't want to win this. I ain't worthy. And anytime you are that self-aware, you will always have my appreciation, because it takes a whole lot of person to know who you truly are. So I dig that. Marcus, who's your next one?
Yeah, this is a category where it's just gonna be our list that we just individually love for like the moments that they created. For
Basically.
me, you want a WWE on this horrendous ass stretch of celebrity guest hosts, there were a few bright spots, and one of those few was the legend, TV legend, Barker, verbally topping Chris Jericho in a face-to-face. It was a Price is Right segment on the show, and this was during Jericho's "I am the best in the world at what I do" run, and it was brilliant. You go back and watch the clip, and if you hear Jericho talk about it took everything in him not to laugh, and you go back and you watch, and you could tell, and that's just to me brilliant. Like Bob just sticking it to him, "Don't make me take you over my knee," all that good stuff, and Jericho just doing his usual stuff. It was a bright spot in a time of garbage. So
Love you, Bob Barker. Spay and neuter your children. Wait, pets? Both. Just do both. We got too many kids anyway. Don't actually spay or neuter your kids. That's a joke, people. My next one is actually going to go all the way back to WCW. He was a former NFL All-Pro, Pro Bowl defensive end, outside linebacker. Loved the man because he's crazy as shit. That's Kevin Green, mean old Kevin Green. Most famous for playing for the Rams, if I remember correctly, the Steelers, unfortunately, and even the Panthers when they first started. Gotta love me some Kevin Green, and unfortunately, he had a lot more plans for pro wrestling, but the NFL's like, you need to stop. And he's like, I'm not gonna. He goes, well, now you're going to, because we're gonna put it in your contract that you can't. And Kevin Green went, shit. So, miss you, Kevin Green. You were great. Crazy ass motherfucker. Loved you. Marcus, next one up.
yeah, me and Chad first fell in love with this guy's this man's vigilante charms on the hit CW show Arrow. But he was soon to get more brownie points with us when we found out he had a liking to pro wrestling. He first showed up in WWE against Stardust. That was a great moment for me, and would have been on this list had he not topped that in AEW when he debuted at what, Double or Nothing, the first Double or Nothing.
Well, he wrestled Christopher Daniels at All In. Is that the one you were thinking of?
Yeah, that was yeah, you're right. That was the kickoff show. Yeah, so he came All In and really, man, went above and beyond the Call of Duty. I mean, obviously he had certain appearances, like I said, in WWE, and then I think he did some stuff leading up to this match. But yeah, man, to say he went above and beyond the Call of Duty in this match, to probably have one of the better matches on that show, ironically, with the Ultimate Veteran and Christopher Daniels. So, you gotta love it, man. He went through a table and everything. He at a time when he was still filming his show. So, them to throw shits and giggles to the wind, could have legitimately ended himself and put the show in a tight spot, but did it anyway. And like I said, the show was all the better for it. You can't do nothing but commend that man. So Stephen Amell, hats off to you, man.
My last one is going to go to two women. WrestleMania 11, if I remember correctly. It is Jenny McCarthy and Pamela Anderson. And if I need to explain to you why they're number one, well, there's 4 great reasons why I can come up with them. And none of them is Jenny McCarthy's badass mentality to life and all of her stupidity. Or Pam's, too, for that matter. They're both fucking nuts. But they do know how to drive boys wild. They were my
You're right. They were
childhood.
fucking. God, do they know how to cause them?
Right? Marcus, I doubt you have two buxom blondes for your number one, but whom or who they could, many, I don't know, just who is it?
These are not two buxom blondes, unfortunately, but they do in their own right cause a severe tingling sensation. I mentioned this before, but it bears repeating. The freaking standoff, confrontation between Mike Tyson and Stone Cold leading up to that WrestleMania. It was brilliant because this was a time. First off, like nobody ever called BS on Mike Tyson because he's legitimately one of the most badass dudes on the planet, and Stone Cold was at such a time where, like, this was a time where people actually bought into the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I know, yeah, yes, that there was a time where that was real. Um, and you 100% believe that could go left at any freaking moment, in the way that they sold it was brilliant. And this was like Mayweather Big Show, except you actually gave a damn about both guys. And yeah, you hardly, if ever, will see something like that again, where both sides peak like that. Ronda had some momentum when she came in, but again, these are different times. And this was, like I said, this boosted WrestleMania to a crazy level. So it might play a big part in the reason why that event is what it is today, or at least was at that time. So yeah, two of the most badass guys in their respective sports colliding. It was practically a kaiju fight. So
It was too bad Shawn Michaels had to be involved. All right, that's it for us this week. RealNerdCorp.com, RealNerdCorp on Instagram at nope, god damn it, why do I keep doing that? Twitter at NerdCorp, Instagram at RealNerdCorp. Marks can be found on his Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
Kid.
And you can find him on other podcasts at The True Penny Show on Twitter, TruePennyShow. You can find me on Twitter at Chad NerdCorp, ChadNerdCorp, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo Hut, ChadSphotohut. Well, that being said, we're done. We're out of here. Vamos, Marcus, take us home.